Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. Today we're going to look at a mid-bass and I'm going to show you how I've added some plugins, mainly from Soundspot because they are really cheap at the moment, and I've just been experimenting with some of the sounds from Axis and Halcyon. So I'm just going to show you what I've done to create this mid-bass that's coming up on this green layer here. So I'll just let you have a listen and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so that is the mid-bass in action, and let's solo this and listen to what is actually happening. So head on over to the mixer, and as you can see my bass channel here, and first things first, we've got Axis on there. So we're going to walk through each one, and I'm just going to remove these plugins here because they'll just activate back again, and I won't know which ones I didn't have working. Alright, so let's deactivate all of the inserts and we'll just activate Axis. So it's a multi-band compressor, and I've used the expansion feature on the bands to kind of really fill up the mid-range sound. So if we look at the imaging for band 1, you can see that the side spread is set to -100, meaning there is no side detail, it's all mid. And I've upped the mid gain a little bit there as well, as you can see, to kind of really bolster up the low end. Okay, and then on the compressor, you can see here that we've got these settings, but I've set it to expansion, so it's close to the expansion range, and it's giving it a really powerful kind of bite on there. Maybe not on this section, but more on this one. But if you turn this off for a second, it fills more of your center of your hearing range. Especially if you've got headphones, you'll notice that even more. Okay, and then moving on to the second band here. This is where the expansion starts to play a bigger role. So the image in here, we've got it set to mono, and then I've increased the side gain just a little bit here, and the mid gain, and it's all just a taste, it's just to kind of balance out the sound. On the compressor, we've got some harder expansion going on here, so you can see the settings are a little bit harsher, and this just kind of pushes up the mid levels without kind of just boosting the gain on them. So it's dynamically enhancing the sound for you. Then on band 3, on the imaging, we've got a little bit less on the mono side, so we're actually introducing some side spread at least, and then we've turned the mid down here, so that is now pushing the outer to the outside of your stereo range. So now you've got two bits that are kind of more centralized, and then these two bits are kind of more pushed out to the sides, giving you that fuller sound. On the compressor, the expansion is going 10 to the dozen crazy, and there you are with the settings, but this really enhances the whole perception of this mid-range area. Pretty weak without it. And finally, the little bit of crispiness on the top here. So to take a look at the settings, this is the first time we've seen the spread in the plus section, so we've actually increased the side detail. The side position is now to the right hand side, where the mono is, well, the mids are to the left. Reduce the side gain a little bit, that's just to balance out the sound in my ears. And then the master, the mid gain here, is just turned down a little bit. And it's all to taste, it's all just to kind of balance the sound out, it's not like the secret settings. Then on the compressor, we've got some expansion. It's pretty hard again, but not too much. If everything's dialed in, it sounds nice. Just use the mix to dial it back, and you get the desired effect. So again, without this, So you get quite a hefty sound out of that just using the expansion feature. Listen to how weak it really is. So this is just a really, really good way. Like, there's many other plugins that can do this, but Axis I find just really easy to understand. That you've just got 3 sections here. This is your metering, so really you don't need to bother with any settings on there. You just refer into it. So you've just got these 2 sections here and the handles, and that's it. And that's what makes it so easy to shape your sound. And I never knew how easy it was to shape your sound using this. So let's have a look at this in full. Okay, so that is just Axis. Then we've done a bit of gain reduction here, just to kind of bring it back down to its level. Then I've got Molot here. Now you can see this drastically changes the sound. So what I've done is just some standard standard compression on here, and then the mid scoop is actually scooping out a lot of the mids to just give it a better place in the mix when I was mixing it down. So that's how it comes out of Axis, and that's just a bit of control, and it was about there. So some just really gentle compression there, just to balance out the sound a little bit. Next up we have Halcyon, and this is probably my favourite plugin right now to centre your mid basses, because you've got these 2 band arms here and you can bring them in and out, so you can kind of centre the mid range. Then you've got a drive section and then a mid and side section on each side. And then just to top it off, you've got this LFO that you can use to give it some movement. In this case, we are not using the LFO, but let's just have a listen to the sound without. And then just with a tad of drive, and it's just slightly pushed to the sides. So it's just adding a little bit more dirt, a little bit more grit to the sound to help it kind of sit in the mix a little bit better. And then I am using Evade for the sidechain, and I've already done a video on this, so if you want to check that out, that's on screen now. But this is just the kind of whole thing of having this option to bypass certain frequencies, let the lows through. It gives you so many more options in the kind of trance design and any other design of any sort of other genre, but this works really well for trance for me, because you can have the mid basses. If it's got a lot of delay, you could just let that delay peak through by just bringing down that and bypassing these frequencies here. Okay, and then finally we've just got Fat on there, which is just a filter. So I'm just using that to filter in and out the sound, and then just a little bit of gain reduction again there with the kilohertz gain reduction. And that's all I've done. Most of it is down to the sound that you choose. So the sound has already got that character without any of those plugins on. So if we just head to the bass mid. So as you can see, this is from my pack. The Euphoric Trance pack, so I'll put the link in the description below as always, so you can go and find that. And it's just designed so it is in the mid-range. You can see here the EQ's pushing it there. We've also got the shaper kind of pushing the drive on the distortion there. So the sound's already set up to become what I have shaped it into. And with a little bit of help, we've got a nice mid bass with no low end in it. And then that couples up nicely with my really low sub bass, which you'll need your headphones on for. And that's using a few tricks as well with some new plugins that I've been working on. So that kind of covers the mid bass, and that's how it sits in the mix. It's probably worth noting this is going through a band bus as well, so if we just play this again, it's going through a thing called acid synths, but it's actually bass. There we are. So it's just going through a few things here. So we've got an SSL compressor on there, just kind of doing its job and making sure everything's nice and tidy. Then we've got some distortion, one of my favourite distortion plugins right now. And you can see just a few settings there, just altered the tone, and it's sounding pretty good. Just adds a little bit of that bite back into the upper mids. And finally, just a bit of EQ. You can see here, I've done a similar cut to what Molot was doing to the sound, just to remove that bit, because it was a little bit overpowering in the mix. Okay, so that concludes the mid-bass walkthrough on this track. You're pretty lucky to see that because the computer's been bottoming out with kind of how many of inserts that I've been using on the mixer and testing things out. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment down below. Also hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, 3 videos a week, and drop a like. So I'm just going to let you listen to the remaining portion of the track and what it's going to sound like. And we'll leave it at that. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.